Welcome back to the Go to Go podcast, man. Episode 109, week 8 of the NFL season right upon us, man. I'm going to start you off just a few hot or not. Then we're going to jump into our week 8 pick'ems as well, man. Starting off, hot or not, Aaron Rodgers should retire.
I feel like that is a hot take. Just because I think he has a couple more good years left in him now. I mean, we can talk about the Jets and that game against the Steelers and what that offense is looking like and that team overall. But I think Rodgers can give you a couple more years. Now, will he retire? He might, bro. Like, who knows what Aaron Rodgers is gonna do? Like, no one knows. You can't really tell with him. But for right now, I think he's playing good enough that I think Aaron Rodgers got a couple more years left in him. He don't need to retire. Not yet, at least.
Okay. Moving to the NFC West, man. Hot or not, the Seahawks will finish first in the division.
That's not looking like a hot take, especially, with what's going on with the 49ers and all of the injuries. Brock Purdy, rocky start against the Chiefs. Rocky season pretty much, hasn't been looking like from last season. McCaffrey, he's not there. Ayuk goes out with what they think is a ACL. Debo's in the hospital with pneumonia. Jennings was out last week with the hip. Like, the list goes on. And, as a fellow NFC fan that lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, like, this is just what happens when you lose to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The next year is the year from hell. Eagles go to the Super Bowl. They lose. What happens next year? Oh, we're the worst 10-1 team of all time. Like, you start great and then you implode at the end of the year. For the 49ers, it just started a lot earlier. Well, it was early for the Eagles too. They were just not good, but they got some lucky wins. But for the 49ers, it pretty much started in the beginning of the season with McCaffrey. Week 1 seemed like to be a game time decision, and that turned into him being out for 10 weeks. Your number 1 draft pick at receiver gets shot in the chest. Brandon Ayuk holding out, getting paid, not really ready for training camp. Then he goes down with the injury. Trent Williams, him holding out of camp, trying to get paid. So, it was definitely not a good start for the San Francisco 49ers, and that's just what happens, man. Like, when you get to the Super Bowl, you have to win, because the next year or next couple of years, you never know how bad it's going to be. And right now, definitely looking like this could be one of those just chalk it up and get ready for next year kind of seasons for the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. It's going to finish off our brief hot or not this week. Moving on, week 8 pick'ems. Last week you went 9-5. I went 10-4. That's putting you 2 games over 500, man. Back in the plus column so far this year. So about halfway through the season, we'll see how things shake up, man. Vikings-Rams going to kick us off Thursday night football in LA, man. I mean, Vikings went down to the wire against the Lions. Great game. 2 powerhouses in the NFC. Vikings handed their first loss of the season. The Rams thinking about trading Kupp. He's designated to return this week, I believe. I mean, the Rams are beat up. Could they possibly pull a game off? Yeah, but this Vikings team, they look real dangerous so far this year. Aaron Jones has sort of rejuvenated his body playing healthy football. And the Vikings, they look like a team to beat in the NFC. So give me the Vikings on the road here.
Yeah, Minnesota's looked like one of the better teams. And even if Aaron Jones isn't fully healthy, he's still playing really good. He just came off the hamstring, missed 1 week, came back after the bye week, and he's running all over the Detroit Lions. So Justin Jefferson continued to look like the best receiver in the NFL. Seems like he always has like one crazy sideline catch a week that you just don't think is in, and then somehow it is in. Sam Darnold playing good enough football, and then that defense up there for the Vikings, they're tough, man. They jumped on the Lions early, got that 10-0 lead, was able to hang around. Unfortunately, didn't get it done, but we'll talk about that division and, those 3 teams that look like they could be the 3 best teams in the league right now. So, yeah, the Vikings are playing really good football, one of the better teams in the NFC, and they should be able to take care of the Rams.
Next game up, man, the Packers travel to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. The Jags got a win last week. That Brian Thomas connection you've talked about all year long, just targeting him in T-Law. Tank Bigsby has emerged as running back one over there in Jacksonville as well. The injury to ETN certainly helped his cause. I mean, give me the Pack. They looked phenomenal last week, getting another win. They've been playing teams down to the wire all year, beating the Texans last week. Jordan Love, another week removed from that early season injury. And, I mean, the Pack, one of those three teams you talked about in that division you were mentioning. So, give me the Packers on the road in this one.
Yeah, Jordan Love doing his best Brett Favre impression so far this season. Where he's just out there looking like a true gunslinger. He's going to throw some interceptions. There's going to be some bad picks. The turnovers are going to come, but with that, on the flip side, you'll see some throws that only a handful of quarterbacks can make, some long touchdowns, deep passes, just throwing it up, giving his guys a chance. And those young receivers out there in Green Bay seem to always come down with the ball more times than not. And their defense is also playing really well. They got a pretty solid secondary, able to get some pressure up front with their pass rush in that front seven against this Jags team where it just seems like Doug Peterson bought himself another week after beating the Patriots over in London. That's not much to write home about. I still think this Jags team is in a lot of trouble, but like you mentioned, just keep throwing the ball to Brian Thomas. It's the only thing they got going for him right now. But yeah, the Packers should win this. This could be a fun game. Maybe we see some high-scoring opportunities with a couple deep shots, but for the most part, I think the Packers should control this game pretty easily and get a win on the road.
Next game up, we got the Cardinals playing the Dolphins in Tua's most likely return week here from that concussion injury. And I'm just rocking with the Fins at this point because knowing as a Dolphins fan, king of mediocre franchise, they're going to find a way to be mediocre again this year, just decrease their draft stock in the first round and probably miss the playoffs. And it's going to start here against the Cardinals, who coming off a win, the Cardinals up and down season as well. They've looked good in some moments and they've looked extremely shaky in some other moments as well. Just a Tua return. Miami maybe getting a little hype, get those playmakers, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle involved, run game going. We'll see what the Dolphins can do. Last time Tua was out there, they were getting blown out by the Bills as well. So it's not like it was a hot start and barely beat the Jags as well. But Tua return, maybe they get something going. A lot of question marks in Miami as well.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot better play than what we saw from Tyler Huntley and Tim Boyle. So I'm going to take the Dolphins here as well at home. Cardinals, like you mentioned, a nice win against the Chargers, but it just seems like there's something missing on that offense, especially, and I think it's the Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison connection. They haven't really been on the same page this year, besides that one Rams game where he went absolutely nuclear in the first half, and they kind of just coasted to the win in that game. But besides that, kind of seems like he hasn't been able to find Marvin Harrison. Not sure, if it's the connection or what they have going on there. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room or in the meeting rooms, but on the field, it just doesn't seem like they're on the same page. A couple of drops, a couple of miscues, and it just seems like Kyler Murray is looking more to kind of run with the ball rather than he is to stand and throw the ball downfield. And you can see it work. Against the Chargers, he had that long touchdown run, gave him the lead late in the game. So he's a dynamic runner with the football, a pretty decent quarterback as well. So I think this Cardinals team will kind of be just like in contention, hanging around. But when it comes to playing teams that are better, and I think they are a better team, especially with Tua at the helms, just a better offense. Your boy McDaniels can finally run his favorite offense, or the only scheme he knows how to coach. So I think the Miami Dolphins will be able to put away the Cardinals, who, especially on defense, haven't looked that well either.
Next game up, AFC East matchup. Jets go to Foxborough and play the Patriots. I almost wanted to take the Patriots, but you might as well coin flip this game. If the Jets don't win it, you go from heavy uncertainty to extreme panic mode maybe in that organization here. You get Devontae Adams. All right, he gets 1 week, not even full week, to learn, the playbook and the routes, stuff like that. But regardless of the matter, you got Devontae Adams, you got Garrett Wilson, you got Breece Hall catching passes out the backfield. He looked good in that receiving game. They got a two-headed monster in the backfield. This defense is supposed to be elite. saw a funny stat. Sauce Gardner and DeMar Hamlin have the same amount of picks in their career, or at least this season. Just give me the Jets. If they don't win this game, the Patriots falling to the Jags. I know the Drake May train kind of arrived, but the Jets can't pull this off. It's going to be upsetting.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I don't think this is a coin flip game. I think the Jets should be able to handily win this game.
Should.
You look at the rosters, you look at the talent. On the defense side of the ball, the Jets have been banged up a little bit, but their pass rush has been solid. Will McDonald, I think, is one of the league leaders in sacks so far this season. They've been able to get after the quarterback. And then offensively, you mentioned all the weapons. I think it's just a matter of time until those guys get on the same page. You just want to see the O-line be a little bit better. But regardless, the Patriots, I think this is more of just how bad this team is. Gerard Mayo, you had high hopes, but so far this season, he's not really looking like the guy. When you kind of see what he did with the Drake May and Jacoby Brissett situation, how he handled that, it's starting to look like Drake May should have just been starting from week one. Get him as much experience, as much reps as he possibly could to kind of see what you have. Where you look at the other rookie quarterbacks with guys like Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, those guys having some success early on in their careers, being able to start week one. Why not throw Drake May out there now? I know it's the O-line and stuff like that, but he's shown he's been a dynamic enough athlete to move around, escape, protect himself, and pretty much do what the Patriots haven't been able, well, the Browns too, but throw the ball downfield. The Patriots haven't been able to do that at all. So Drake May adds that element in. I remember last week we were talking about when was the last time a quarterback threw the ball like down the field for a touchdown, and I forgot who said the stat. I might have been listening to the Bill Simmons podcast or someone, but I heard somewhere that said that was the longest touchdown the Patriots have had since 2022. So we were right, bro. Like
Mac Jones.
Yeah, a very long time since the Patriots quarterback has thrown the ball downfield, and it's seeming like Drake May is able to do it almost every game. That he has an arm, he has all the tools, but yeah, when your head coach literally comes out and says we have a soft team, like that's one of those like just blaring red flags. Like, you're literally the head coach. Like, you're the reason the team is soft. So, some looking in the mirror for Gerard Mayo. Belichick was throwing shots on one of his podcasts, said that's the same defense that was number one against the run that he coached last year. So, he doesn't think the players are soft. So, that's going to be a fun storyline to follow throughout the season, is Bill Belichick's opinion on how the Patriots are being ran while he's gone. Regardless, I just don't think this Patriots team has the talent, or even though it is an interim head coach for the Jets, are as well coached as the Jets so far this season, which, wow, that's saying a lot. Your coach got fired and you're still not better than the interim. But regardless, you could say coaching is even here. I think the Patriots are just a worse roster, so give me the Jets here on the road, but I still think the Jets are a better team and they should win this game pretty handily.
Next game up, man. Ravens go to Cleveland to play the Browns, and I'll be straight up. I don't know why I put the Browns, but then I sat here and thought it's time for 5 to get in the game, man. Jameis Winston, just one of those energy wins that should not happen. Ravens look absolutely dominant in every aspect, other than the defense, but they showed out against the Bucs last night, actually. Playing some good defense against that Bucs team that could put up points. Obviously, some injuries to Mike Evans and then Chris Godwin late in the game. But that Godwin injury wasn't until the end. This Ravens team, man, Lamar, Derrick Henry, they look scary. Zay Flowers did get banged up, but Bateman, he's been a nice target downfield. Lamar's been able to find all year, even with Zay in the game. They look like one of the best teams in the AFC. Jameis Winston, I don't know. He saw something from DTR last week, and I don't know if it was lack of preparation and, he wasn't getting first starter reps. But the Browns, they'll probably just play Jameis, get a worse draft pick, kind of like the Dolphins, and they won't be drafting a top-tier quarterback in the first round this year, or they'll have to trade up. So the Browns get an incredible surprising victory against division rivals.
I'm not going to say too much about this game. I'm going to pick the Ravens to beat the Browns. The one thing I will say is about this Ravens team, and this is just a heads up, a fair warning. from, I've kind of foreshadowed and mentioned it already earlier this episode, but last year, the Eagles were a team that, they seemed to be beating everybody, putting up all the points, but they just weren't able to put teams away. And we've seen this Ravens team a couple of times this year score big points, but at the end of the game, especially last night against that Bucks, where they had the big lead and kind of just coasted, but they letting these teams hang around, they letting them come back. That's not a sustainable way to win in this football league. And when you're winning, it's good and all, but once you get later into the season, some injuries happen, especially with that Ravens team, whereas it doesn't seem like they're the best at pass blocking. Lamar was hit a couple times last week, and when you're relying on two guys like Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, who they're taking a bunch of hits throughout the game. They're really physical runners. They run the ball a lot. And then defensively, you give up a bunch of yards in the passing game to where, before when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were both on the field, Baker was taking advantage of them, throwing the ball down the field. Not a recipe for success in the NFL. Like, I know everything's going well for the Ravens right now. They can run the ball when they're on script and their defense is playing with the lead. Everything looks good, but I'm just giving you a fair warning, Ravens fans. Like, this is exactly what the Eagles season looked like last year at this point in the season. You're getting some big wins. You're putting up points. Defense is shaky, but you win, so it's okay. So you just gloss over everything. And then that turning point will hit at the end of the year, and the season just goes downhill. So hopefully that doesn't happen to the Ravens for, Ravens fans' sake. Big fan of Lamar. But that's just something to keep an eye on, where you want to see that pass defense and you want to see that pass protection kind of step up and get better for the Ravens throughout the year. Because if not, you'll have a 2022 or 2023 Eagles season repeat.
I don't even think that's a recent issue either. I mean, they haven't been able to put teams away. You go back, date the Tua comeback against the Ravens, that game. And then there's a few of them in between, and then last season as well. The Browns came back on the road at M&T Bank, and they were down 3 scores, came back and beat the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
And
then even this season, you look at the Bengals. Bengals threw for like a gazillion yards against them. Jaden Daniels had a pretty solid game against them. Like, teams have been able to move the ball and put up points against this Ravens team. It's just, that offense and that running game has been super, super efficient. Derrick Henry scored. I think he scored last night. Continues his scoring in every single game streak. Lamar is playing really, really well, but you want to see that supporting cast step up and kind of help them, because you want to, especially when you get later in the year, and we don't need to talk about Ravens and their postseason, whatever they've been able to do, but in terms of closing games out and being able to win these big games, those are the two things, pass rush and pass defense, that you're really going to need to see step up.
Next game up, man, your Eagles go to Cincinnati, play the Bengals. I don't even like how the Bengals played last week. I just don't like how the Eagles played the last 2 weeks. It was the Saquon Barkley show, and Saquon only. A.J. Brown did get in the end zone, did look good. Smitty basically a non-factor out on the field. And
that's why you're picking against the Eagles.
Yeah, man. Heavy on the Smitty fantasy stock. 1 catch for -2 yards. This is elite numbers coming from the wide receiver too. But it seriously was a Saquon show. Didn't have a problem. Obviously led the whole game. Daniel Jones looked lost out there. I guess the defense looked good playing the Giants. This Bengals team, they didn't look good against the Browns offensively. They got an opening touchdown off a kick return. Sort of just coasted the rest of the way, able to put some points together, but not really much of a challenge Cleveland threw up. But give me the Bengals.
So the last win against the Giants, I'm going to say, is the best win the Eagles have had since 2022. And, we can sit here and reminisce about that season. That's a whole episode in itself. But what I will say is...
We won't sit here and reminisce about it.
But, I don't want to think about losing that Super Bowl. But Saquon Barkley in the running game finally got going. Now, you can't say it was a Giants revenge game. But regardless, that Giants front seven and that defense, something you were kind of high on. I got to give you your credit. You were higher on that front seven. Dex Lawrence and those guys, Brian Burns. And it's a really solid front seven. That Giants defense, no matter how bad Daniel Jones and that offense was playing, that Giants defense has been really, really good. They lead the league in sacks, got after Jalen Hurts in that game. a good front seven. It's a solid defense, and the Eagles were basically able to just impose their will and run the ball all over the Giants. Jalen Hurts, no turnovers, hasn't turned the ball over the last 2 games. I know I always come on and say he's due for 1 or 2 dumbass turnovers a game, but so far he's kept it clean and didn't really have to do much. So that was really well. And then the defense has gotten a lot of confidence over the past 2 games. That's my only, asterisk next to this team is because it was against the Browns and the Giants. But when you look at those past 2 games, I believe they have like 13 combined sacks. Everyone's getting involved. The young guys are stepping up and playing really well. You look at the outside, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. I think DeJean has been the highest graded defender since he started the past couple games. So that's really huge. Slay, he's been banged up a little bit, but has made some nice plays. So the team has got some confidence. They're playing really well. It seems to be coming together, but Nick Sirianni is still the head coach, and it was against the Giants and Bucks. I think it'll be a tough game. I just think the Bengals slightly edge this one out. Now, do I think the Eagles should win this game? 100%. And now, if the Eagles come out and that defensive front is still firing on all cylinders, and that offense looks to be, dominant on the run game, and then they do a little something through the air where you hit AJ down the sideline, get Smitty involved, and they come out and handle this Bengals team, then we can get back into these Eagles conversations being one of the better teams in the league. But I got to see it against a team that has some talent on the offensive side of the ball, a team like the Bengals who we know can put up points against anybody. I want to see it first. I'm not getting sucked back in because I was, a very pessimistic Eagles fan to begin with to start the season. I was down on this team, especially after those couple losses in the beginning of the year. And now they got a little hype. They got a little momentum. It's good to see them playing well. Maybe hopefully there's confidence and, you beat up on lesser opponents and you take that confidence and you get some nice wins here. But I think this is going to be the first true test for this Eagles team since they lost to the Bucks coming off of that bye. It's going to be a tough game, but I think they lose in a close one to the Bengals. But it's definitely a winnable game for the Eagles on the road. I think they should win it. I just don't think they're good enough and coached well enough yet to kind of get over the hump and beat a team like the Bengals on the road. So I'm going to pick Cincy here too.
Colts, Texans in Houston. The Anthony Richardson last week back didn't really do too much considering the fact that the Dolphins were able to hang in that game the whole entire time. Give me the Texans. It's just really someone that's high on the AR draft stock this year. It's not looking too good fantasy-wise.
Yeah, as long as Anthony Richardson is starting, I think the Colts are just prioritizing his development rather than winning games at this point. So give me the Texans at home.
Yeah. Titans, Lions, man, and another Titans. I just listen. If I wasn't a fan of the Browns or the Dolphins, I probably feel the same way as I do talking about the Titans. The less we talk about them, the happier I am. Give me the Lions.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Lions here. They might run for 800 yards in this game.
Falcons, Bucks, NFC South matchup is going to be a good one, man. Two teams that are supposed to be at the top of the division.
Two teams that are on the top of the division.
Yeah, but for how much longer?
NFC South.
I had the Bucks, man. Saw the Godwin injury. Did this before at the beginning of the Monday Night Football game. So I'm going to go ahead and change my pick to the Falcons. Injury to Mike Evans out for a few weeks. Godwin probably done for the season. Back to the drawing board for the Bucks in that offense because they're going to need to find some weapons. Give me the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm taking the Falcons here as well. Kind of saw what it looked like for a team to be missing its superstar or star number one and 2 receivers earlier this year when, funny enough, the Eagles went to play the Bucks down in Tampa. And that offense it didn't look like it belonged in the NFL. So hopefully for the Bucks' sake, it's better than what the Eagles put on the field, but I doubt it'll be much better when you're running out with Sterling Shepard and a rookie McMillan. You lose both of those guys, it's going to be hard to win.
Saints, Chargers in L.A. Chargers coming off that tough loss to the Cardinals we touched on a little bit earlier. Expect them to get back on track. It's kind of a get-right game against the Saints team that started off so hot. And it looked like the NFC South winners, but they've just come down to reality. Rashid Shaheed out for the season. Spencer Rattler quarterback the last 2 weeks. Give me the Chargers.
Yeah, the Saints, another team that's just been riddled with injuries all over on both sides of the ball. Bunch of starters out. Chargers, on the other hand, they're going to play that physical brand of football. They're going to run the ball. Had some weird issues this past game, especially against the Cardinals, but they just can't score touchdowns, bro. Like Cameron Dicker the kicker, like if you got him on fantasy, he's putting up like 15, 20 points a game because the Chargers just can't score in the red zone or once they get past the 50. So they're just kicking a bunch of field goals. And you saw that last night where Cardinals, they were able to get the ball in the end zone twice, and that was pretty much the deciding factor of the game where the Chargers just had some trouble punching it in. Justin Herbert still doesn't have receivers that can catch the ball. Saw the clip going around of Jalen Rager on the field
he could
for
catch
him.
the football, but
that's not going to help any quarterback, and I can tell you that as an Eagles fan, you don't want Jalen Rager on the field for your offense whatsoever. So, yeah, I want to see the Chargers clean up that red zone efficiency, maybe find ways to get the passing game incorporated a little more creative because, they just want to run the ball. But regardless, against the Saints practice squad roster, they should be able to get it a dub.
Bills Seahawks in Seattle. I think it's going to be a good game, man. Seahawks, top of the division over there in the NFC West. We touched on them. The Bills, on the other hand, not having to do too much fancy work. Josh Allen hooked up with Amari Cooper in the end zone. Didn't even know what route he was running when he checked the play. Keon Coleman had to help him out. A little skinny post into the end zone for a touchdown. Keon Coleman, I think he had 4 catches for over 100 yards. So big plays downfield from the rookie. The offense looks good. But on the Seahawks side, Geno Smith kind of been, in that gunslinger role of turning the ball over but throwing for a lot of yards. And those guys on the outside have been making plays, and the Kenneth Walker run game has seemed to be their go-to in the end and punching it in the end zone as well. I think it's going to be a really good matchup. Wouldn't be surprised if the Bills take this one on the road, but I'm just going to rock with the 12th man, one of the toughest environments to play.
Yeah, I think this will be a good game, like you mentioned, but I'm going to pick the Bills here. On the Seahawks side, DK Metcalf with the knee sprain, considered to be week to week, so I don't think he'll be ready for this Bills game. And you mentioned Geno throwing the ball around. DK was his best weapon, his best target out there on the outside. Super big physical receiver. So missing him will definitely hurt, but they got guys like Tyler Lockett, JSN that can step up, and I think they can carry the load. Where you look at the Bills and you saw what Amari Cooper was able to do his first week back, another full week of practice. He gets more comfortable in that offense. Maybe we see Josh Allen throw the ball a little bit more, open it up, get his number one receiver some targets, and then that run game gets going as well. I'm right there with you. I think this will be a really good game, but I'm just going to take the Bills because I think Josh Allen will be able to find a way for his team to win here on the road. But it could go either way, like you just said.
Yeah, I don't hate it, man. Bears Commanders in Washington. Jaden Daniels dealing with that rib injury. We'll see. I think the x-rays came back negative this week. Regardless, Mariota looked like Mariota that was drafted out of Oregon last week against that Panthers defense, and I do think it was that Panthers defense and not the Commanders offense so much. While he did play good, I don't think it is very hard to play against that Panthers defense in their league worst in almost every category. Bears, on the other hand, I believe they're coming off a bye this week.
Yeah, they are.
They got some fresh legs, but that defense, Caleb Williams, I'm still trying to see the full picture here. DeAndre Swift has gotten it going the past few weeks they've played. I'm just not buying into the Chicago Bears just yet. I'm a little higher on the Commanders, even without, Jaden Daniels at the helm.
If Jaden Daniels does suit up and he does go, I'll probably switch this to the Commanders. But right now, it's kind of like 50-50 is still up in the air to see if he is going to go. I've seen reports saying that, like you mentioned, the x-rays were negative and that he's good to go. And then other reports saying that he's week to week. So really not sure if he's going to play. It seems to be more like a later in the week game time decision. So hard to tell. But if it's Mariota, I think this Bears defense that's been, one of the best through the air. They have a good secondary. That pass rush will get after it. Marcus Mariota is definitely not the answer. Like you mentioned, he's playing against that Panthers defense, so he might look a little bit better. So I'm picking the Bears here just based off if Jaden Daniels doesn't play. I think Caleb Williams can be good enough, play kind of that game manager role against the Commanders defense that's been kind of sneaky okay as the year has gone on. But if Jaden Daniels is in, I just think he's in that offense the way they've been rolling. It's kind of hard to pick against him. So I would pick the Commanders if he ends up playing. But for right now, I'm going to go with he's not playing, and I'm going to pick Caleb Williams and the Bears.
And if I'm the Commanders, you might as well sit Jane Daniels. Taking a lot of hits this year. Don't want him to get beat up. Probably a smarter play to sit him, especially, rib injury as a quarterback, taking those hits as he does. Chiefs, Raiders in Vegas. Not much to say, man. Gardner Minshew's getting thrown back in there because Aiden O'Connell is now hurt as well. Give me the Chiefs, who haven't seemed to have a challenge to lose the past few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going out and playing like bottom 5 quarterback so far this season. He has like 8 interceptions to 6 touchdowns. But this defense is so good. They just find ways to win. Mahomes will get it done with his legs. Like, you mentioned this Raiders team. Not much to say about them there. The Chiefs will just win this game.
Panthers, Broncos. Just got talking about how bad that Panthers defense was. So maybe it's a kind of a get-right moment for Bo Nix in his rookie year so far. The Broncos defense has been very good, one of the top defenses, I'd say top 10 in the league. They've made some plays. Javonte Williams was able to get in the end zone, I believe, 2 times last week as well. I mean, just give me the Broncos. Andy Dalton, he did get in a car accident a couple hours ago. He's okay. Him and his family, but he looked, I think he threw 2 or 3 picks last week against that Commanders defense. Yeah, just give me the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm picking the Broncos here as well because, like you mentioned, their defense is one of the better in the league. And then you mentioned Bo Nix. He's flashed a couple times. He's had a couple good quarters, a couple good drives, some nice moments. You get a team like the Panthers here where you get the chance to put, not a couple good quarters or games. You get to put an entire good game up against this defense, not just drives or quarters. So, yeah, like you mentioned, this might be Bo Nix's coming out party here against the Panthers.
Sometimes you just need to see one go in, and this might be it.
Multiple going against this Panthers team. It's like shooting practice.
Cowboys, Niners. This one is like 2 teams that NFC powerhouses, quote unquote, and somehow the Cowboys are just worse than the Niners. And Niners, what do they have? 2 wins so far this year?
I think they have 3.
Yeah, they have 3. They're sitting at 3rd in the division, only ahead of the Rams at this point, who have been even more beat up than the Niners. You lose Ayuk. You mentioned the Jennings injury. They get Pearsall back. Jennings should be good to go next week. Debo, big question mark. Jordan Mason's been the only bright spot throughout all these injuries, and Christian McCaffrey.
He's even got banged up.
Yeah. Defense, not looking like that defense, that commanding defense, and it's tough when your offense isn't putting up that many points like they should be or as they're expected to in a Kyle Shanahan offense and scheme. That being said, the Cowboys have been awfully atrocious, to say the very least, man. That defense is bottom 5, and I think they're second to last in points allowed, only ahead of the Panthers. Give me the Niners.
Yeah, the only thing the Cowboys have going for them this week is they won't be at home, so maybe they'll have a chance to win. But regardless, this is like you mentioned, 2 super hyped NFC teams that just seem to be imploding, and somehow it feels like the Eagles are in a better spot than both of these teams right now, which is funny to say. But regardless, I feel like this game is just going to be it's not going to be a fun game to watch. It's a bad game, but I'll take the 49ers at home.
Yeah, I don't hate your Eagles statement. I do think the Niners are kind of maybe same level, different record-wise than the Eagles. I would put your most hated team, the Dallas Cowboys, definitely below the Eagles at this point in the season. The Niners, if Purdy could get it together, man, they could make
It's just tough with all those injuries.
Yeah,
like,
no,
you got
100%.
so many players out. Like, it just gets to a point where you can't overcome every single injury.
It's not like Ayuk was cooking either, but,
they're not missing much.
Yeah, obviously, great receiver in the league. speedy recovery. Hopefully, he'll be back next year, man. Giants Steelers finishing it off prime time, man. And Russell Wilson, last week he did some work, man. Justin Fields said he didn't think he played good enough to keep that starting job. And I see why, because Russ came in there and absolutely torched that Steelers offense. They looked rejuvenated, happy. Najee Harris, George Pickens was smiling on the sideline. Now you're maybe in that George Pickens cycle where, oh, he's a wide receiver 1. And then we'll see next week if he throws a diva tantrum with Russ at the helm. But like I said, man, they got TJ Watt, if not the best, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. That defense is flying around making plays. So give me the Steelers at home against this Giants team that looked awful. I mean, the back-to-back NFC East teams that looked awful between the Cowboys and Giants.
Yeah, not many positive things to say on that Giants team besides Dexter Lawrence, already at 10 sacks on the season. He's up there with those guys, like you mentioned, TJ Watt. He's one of the best defensive players, or just one of the best players in the league, period. It's amazing to see him play and how he moves for a nose tackle, such a big guy where he's always on the field and he's getting it done not only in the run game, but when you have that size and able to rush the passer, that's just a special kind of talent there. But outside of him, Malik Neighbors came back last week, 4 catches for 40 yards, told reporters that he was open, watched the film, just has Daniel Jones throwing him the ball, unfortunately. So we feel for you, Malik Neighbors. Not too many positives going on there from New York. And you mentioned the Steelers. They're kind of the exact opposite, where they're riding high. They found their new quarterback, Tomlin, coming out. I don't know. They're handling this horribly, like in terms of what Tomlin's coming out and saying. And, you know, Chris Collinsworth during the game was talking to him. He said he was talking to Tomlin like he didn't know who was going to be the starter. He's like, he doesn't know what he wants to accomplish, but he just wants to find the best quarterback to give him a chance to win the Super Bowl. So it's like, that's what you're trying to accomplish, is find a quarterback that'll help you win the Super Bowl. So I'm not too sure what's going on there in the media and stuff. You mentioned Fields saying he didn't play enough, but yeah, the Steelers, they're riding high. That run game has been pretty dominant. Still got some questions on the O-line for the Steelers, but against this Giants team, you don't really have to do much. So, yeah, I'm going to take Pittsburgh at home. And, how many times are we going to get to watch the Steelers in prime time? Like, I feel like they're just not a good prime time team. This is, like, the third time in, like, 3 or 4 weeks. Like, I'm over it, bro.
Yeah,
they were on prime
3
time
times the last 4 weeks.
last week and against the Cowboys, and out here against the Giants. Like,
yep.
That's enough Steelers content, man. Let's get some other teams.
Oh, you know, I'm down for shoving the Steelers into the 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock window any day of the week, man. But you just gotta tip your hat to division foe. I mean, they played some good ball, and that's about it, man. That's all I'm gonna say about the Steelers. It's gonna wrap up Week 8, go pod, man. Go on everything. You got any last comments, takes, anything like that?
Friday, man. Dodgers getting ready to start the World Series against the Yankees. It's kind of like the battle of the big markets. Let's see who's spent the most money in terms of the big teams. So, rocking with the Dodgers. I know you're not rocking with the Yankees. You don't got to get too much into what happened there, but yeah, man. And opening night for the NBA, it'll be fun. Who plays tonight? I think it's Celtics, Knicks, and then Lakers and Wolves.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, I think all the rest of the teams get going tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I saw an interesting stat, like 16 football games. World Series is on, like 30 plus NBA and NHL games, respectively. I mean, sports are back, man. Late October. You got Knicks, Celtics. You got T-Wolves, Lakers tipping off at 10. Should be a good one, man. Ant and J-Jets, they finally recreated their KG and Randy Moss pick, too, as well. So he's getting going in action tonight. And the new look Wolves without Cat. Yeah, that's going to be exciting to see Julius Randle and Gobert out there on the court at the same time.
And I'm going to just say this, before the NBA season start, anything, I'm gonna pick my official team, bro. This year I'm rocking with the Magic, bro. That's my team. Orlando Magic, yeah. Shout out my boy E-Mac, man.
But yeah, all right, man. Y'all boys are hating on the Franz pick last night in fantasy, man. This is gonna be his year. This is the Magic's year.
Nah,
Paolo,
man. Paolo's gonna lead us.
Paolo's
Jalen
cool.
Suggs just signed the extension, man. A lot of heart, a lot of grit on that team.
Yeah, they're
Magic
an
gonna
old
make some
school
noise
team,
in the
man.
East, man.
They need that secondary score. So,
That's right. KCP.
all right, go. They need ankle monitor. KCP is what you're referring to. Go week 8. Go pod on everything. Go pod on TikTok. Excuse me. Go on everything else. That's it.
That's it.
And until next week, man, we'll be back with another episode. Peace.